Hello, everyone. I am back again, and I'm going to be working on my badger painting. So maybe I'll finish it in this time, or maybe we'll have to do a few series of shorter videos or splice them together. But anyways, we will continue on. So let's take a look at it for a moment here. So we can see I have everything all ready to go. My painting, my palette, I've prepared my colors. I have my puddles and my smears, puddles for the bold, rich colors and larger areas, and smears for just the smaller, more subtle colors. I have my water, my brushes, my tissue is also very important to have. The tissue, I tend to just use toilet paper. I have my test page to test my colors, just a bit of scrap watercolor paper, and I'm ready to go. So let's take a look at the photograph that I'm using as my reference for a moment here. And so we have our little badger here. And again, we're focusing on warm and cool and our values, darks and lights. And that's the main thing we want to establish. And then, of course, really retain the shape. And when I talk about the shape, that is important to what shapes that matter the most, besides the overall drawn in shape of the critter. It is the shape of the highlights and the shadows that matter. To be honest, the shape of his actual coloration, the shape of his mask, the shape of what's happening on his back with the color changes, that is not near as important, because that does not determine much of the form. That will determine the recognizability of what sort of animal it is, but you can get away with a lot of differences in there. However, if we don't have our shadows and highlights, the shape of those accurate, it will end up distorting the form. So we have that. Today I'm also going to start bringing in some background into this. I'm going to keep the background fairly muted for this, simply because I don't want it to take away from him. And also, this is just a demonstration of technique, not so much a demonstration of composition or anything. That would be a different one. So let's get back to the painting here. And I'm going to put this off to the side so I can see them both. So one thing that I have noticed in what I'm doing, which I'm not overly pleased about in my own painting, and I've talked to you guys already about always responding to what we see happening. What I've noticed happening, and probably because I'm also focused on teaching online here, which is all new to me, but what I've noticed is within my overlapping shapes of color, I've been laying them in as single solid colors. I started with the mask laying in the few colors gradating into each other, but then I sort of lost that, and now this pale raw sienna I've laid in is simply just raw sienna. I've not brought in another variety to blend in with that. Then when I was laying in these Payne's gray colors and these phthalo blue colors, again, I was just laying them in solid. So today, as I go into this next, as I continue to put layered transparent or glaze in transparent layers of washes, I'm going to try to make sure each wash has at least two colors running together. This is not something that is a must. It's just simply what I appreciate when I see a watercolor, and it's not happening so far. So I want to bring that in. So that's what I will be doing on this. I'm going to back away a little bit. Let me change the angle of this so you can get a better view of the painting, I think. And you might not get to see the palette so much, so I'll try to talk through what I'm going to be doing here. One of the things I notice is that I need to get a little more of the leg in here. So I'm going to first just lay in my first wash just to establish it, not get real dark. To keep it unified with the rest of it, I'm just going to work only with Payne's Gray. That really needs to blend in here, run in with this. So let's go ahead and carry that on into this shape to keep them unified. And this is his other back leg. I believe it's quite hard to see from this photo, but we're going to call it that. And again, continuing on, laying in my shape as these pointed sort of shapes to create the impression of fur. When we draw, paint, everything we do is trying to create an impression because we're not creating any sort of reality. It's all fake if you think about it. Okay, it's not quite looking like a leg, but that's okay because in the original it doesn't. Neither there does it look quite like a leg there as well. So, all right, I want to bring in a little bit more. There's a bit more purplish in here, and I'm going to, it's a bit dangerous, maybe a bit risky, a bit bold, bringing purple into that, but I want to bring in a wash of this purple and blue and even some pink, and really try to practice what I'm talking about with these gradation of color. So let's just start getting that in, cooling that down. It's also darkening it, which I like that happening. I like that getting bolder and deeper. But right away, I'm going to bring some blue and get that changing. But I have to be careful. I don't want to lose that nice highlight along this edge here. So I'm going to just lay some clear water in that right away and go back in again with this purple. And I'm going to stay back from that edge. Okay, so I'm cooling this down, keeping it nice and transparent. I'm actually working from a smear of purple. I didn't mix up a whole puddle of bold purple because that's not what I wanted. All right, so right away I'm going to get some blue, and I'm even going to bring in some of that rose color in here, which is wonderfully taking on a bit of a neutral sort of brown, which I'm liking. Try and carry this into a little bit more definition in his front foot there. In that darker area. This is called charging when I'm just dropping it in. So I'm gonna see if I can get that to happen. Get that deeper and richer up in here as well without overworking it. That's the risk. Especially when you work with smears, that's when you tend to really overwork a piece because you're not getting the boldness you want and you just keep layering more and more and more. And that can tend to overwork it. So I'm going to stop there on that. Pull this out just a little bit, soften that edge because I want to keep the feel of that soft fur. Don't know what's happening with that shape. I think just merely because I'm working with a scrappy piece of watercolor paper. This isn't anything I plan on keeping. Oh, looks like I'm getting a phone call. Let me pause this. If I can stop that. Get back to, I don't know if it's still recording or not. This is refusing to let me hang up, trying to decline my phone call. Okay, so continuing on here, got rid of that phone call. I'm going to lay in this purple up into the mask here to keep the unity. And really on this dark side here, but I'm going to lay it in just not solid purple. I'm going to get some blue in there before that dries. But I want that a soft edge. And I'm going to get that nice rose color up in there as well. It's doing a bit of a funny thing there. So let's spread that out, soften that on the edge. Get a bolder, richer, deeper blue, especially around that eye. Okay, carry a little bit into the other side, just to keep it unified, not too much. I'm going to charge that eye, but I'm leaving that highlight. So I'm really going to try and leave that. Let's see if I can get that eye to come out nice and rich and bold. And then just up here, put in a little bit more. That's pretty dark, but I want to soften that edge out there. Pull in a little bit of that soft rose color, bring that in. And now again, to keep things unified, I'm going to carry some of this into the rest here as well. Again, working with at least two colors. Always letting the color underneath show through. I don't want to completely cover that up. Drop in a little bit of the blue, and now carry that down here where that gets, again, bolder. Because I see that happening in my reference photo. Get some of that variety. Make sure I get that purple in there to keep the unity. And then I really see this carrying on into the back here where it really gets dark on our little creature because it's really in shadow. So we're going to go ahead and let that get fairly deep. Carry this on up into here so to visually tie those shapes together. Keep his back unified with the rest of him, his shoulders and his head, and keeping all his body parts unified. Get that blue in there right away. I want to, before this dries, I want to get some wet and wet effects happening. So I'm going back and forth between my purple and my blue, not running the two colors together too much. Letting the Payne's gray underneath show through, and all of that is going to help ensure texture, the implied furry texture. Okay, so we're doing that. Get this underside quite bold. And let's charge that with some blue. And it gets pretty thick on my photo, fairly quite dark in there, but I don't have to go dark right away. That's a mistake we often make. We feel we have to go right away dark. It's so much, I find it's so much pleasing, more more aesthetically pleasing in the end if we have let it build. It's like with acrylic and oil. So much of it is layering. Okay. Need to get some dark. Continuing on with my purples, keeping my piece unified by making sure my colors are carrying through, not limited to only one spot. Charging it if I want my deep, rich areas. So all I'm doing is creating these shapes. Now, I'm again responding to this and I see, starting to feel a little busy. So I don't want that too much. So that's where I need to kind of maybe get rid of some of the zigzag edges and just kind of fill that in a little more solid because I don't want it to get too busy. All right, I'm going to carry a little bit of this purple up into here and up into here. And as well as this rose soft color. That is neutralizing itself. So carry that into the nose. Let's soften up that edge. And dip into the water to soften that edge. Let's put a little bit of it in here. Can't see a whole lot of it on the photo necessarily, but again, it's all a matter of keeping the unity. So I'm going to bring it in there anyway. Look for any hints of it. Another place where I can bring that in. Soften it out, keep it subtle. I'm going to bring a little here. I think that will help unify this side. Don't want it too much, so let's wet that down. Now I'm going to switch to a larger brush here because I really want to get some of that in here. I'm going to let's just try wetting this area. And what happens if I bring in just soft bits of this somewhat neutralized. I think this will help to tone down the yellow, which I felt was too much, that yellow feel. And while this is wet, I really want to get something else in here. I'm going to dip into this. Yeah, I think this might be good. I'm going to charge some of that in there. While it's still wet. Bringing this in. And then at some point, I have to pay attention that I don't keep going over this while it's wet and overwork the whole piece. I'm going to overlap and bring this color into my shadow just a little bit, again, to ensure unity. And let's get some of it in here. I want that to run around a little bit. I don't want it too hard edged. I'm going to carry it into this area here. This color is definitely working better than, I think, than if I would have grabbed an orange. I had been considering that. Let's soften that up a little bit. And I'm going to actually drop in a bit of Payne's Gray into here and let that run. Okay, and see, let it start to do its own thing here. And I think that can be interesting. Just love it when these colors run together. And this will help, I think, create the soft soft edge. It'll also help create the form. Starting to get a little exaggerated there too much. Let's get some of it down here. Let's not get it too busy. Got my tissue ready. Let's lift that out just a little bit. So hard to know what's happening here in the grass. I need to create a gradation there on that leg to make that leg feel round. And that's where we're running into a little bit of trouble there. Again, what really matters in the painting is that even devoid of whether, like if we take devoid of whether it's a badger or not, if I cover this up, so if I cover this up, we can tell that doesn't, we don't know what that is. Can't tell if that's a badger or not. But is it attractive to the eye? That's what matters most. Not does it look like a badger. Okay, the point is not can I create a badger so much. The point is, can I create something that our viewer enjoys? Okay, and if all I'm caring about is whether I can make this look like a badger, well, I'm limiting my painting to an audience, to strictly an audience that likes badgers. And I should be able to create something that you don't have to like badgers to enjoy the painting. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what I'm really trying to focus on and try and explain how that works. All right. I really need to kind of stop with him and get some background happening here. So I'm just going to first lay down some wet washes, working from the light to the dark. So just with a large brush, I'm going to, picked up a little bit of color there. I'm just going to pull some of that out. I'm not going to worry about that. I don't know why I have that. It's just be in my water. And I just want to create some wet on wet, loose effects. Okay, let's bring in some green. Let's get our good angle here. Now, I do have to make sure that I don't separate my background too much from my subject, which is my badger. In the end, they have to be, they have to go together. Just because they're on the same page doesn't mean they automatically go together. I have to make sure they actually go together. So I'm going to pull some of these same colors in Let's bring some of that blue and Payne's gray into here. Blue first. Oop, that's a bit. That's okay. It's going to neutralize as it mixes around. Again, I'm not so much concerned. Now this is where I see I'm going to have to really get that to come together, because at the edges here where the two are coming together, we don't really see any unity happening. It can just, the badger just suddenly ends, and then this background around him ends up exactly that. It ends up just being something around him, not actually an environment that he is placed in. And that will happen if I don't somehow, where the two meet, there has to be a visual transition. So I'm just pulling in a little bit of purple here. It's going to neutralize with all the other colors, but let's be careful we don't go mud. Let's not overdo it and create mud. Using predominantly horizontal lines. And now I think it's time to just stop right now. Okay, so I can see some of my colors repeating, starting to. I do want to get a little bit of blue up here. It's going to be a bit of a dull, but let's go ahead, lay in some dull sky blue for my sky, maybe better. Sorry, maybe better get some good wet on wet here. You'll notice when a flat brush holds much less water than a round. That's why I typically work with rounds more than flats, but right now I'm working with this flat, and I'm just going to stick with it. But a flat will so much easier, without intending to, create the brush stroke where you can see the edge of your stroke exactly. So, however, if I do wet and wet, that will help prevent that from happening. This is a very pale, dull blue, hardly noticeable until I lay it in right there. And it suddenly became very noticeable. And defining the edge. Went a little far there, I think, so let's pull that away. Get some of this boldness up here. Skies typically are darker at the top, lighter as they come down. I'm not trying to create too much of an exact sky. I'm just trying to lay in an environment and let the viewer sort of decide how it goes. Okay, so this is just the first structure of it, okay? Some real fun things have happened here. So let's see if we can turn this so we can really get a good view of him. So we can see some nice soft washes happening here. Now, because my paper is just a bit of a crummy piece of paper, we have other things happening that I did not intend, but not necessarily bad. A little bit of texture, a little something happening here, as long as it's not drawing too much attention to itself. Okay, let's just look at some things that are happy. This little area, just that edge, on its own, it created that white highlight on him. And we see a really nice highlight happening, which I like, contrasting with this deep color here. Now I see on the camera, it looks quite blue. It's actually much more purple on the original piece here. This is a fun area that I'm attracted to. I see this color moving up into his tail. Not quite defined like the photo, but that's what I talk, a visual bridge, okay? So this is like visually coming down into it. I need to do some more, I need some more darks simply, Okay, so all this dark area, there needs to be some of that present in this area around him to get him present in that space. So I like what's happening here. Okay, nothing wrong with being honest. Don't get too so critical of your piece that you won't be honest about the parts that you're happy about. Okay, I like this soft transition. I like how this goes from this yellow into the green and into the blue here. Okay, I'll be honest, there's a lot of things that I'm not particularly happy about. It really, for my liking, it's feeling a bit busy with this, you know. So I'll be honest about that too. Not overly excited about that, but I do love this little edge here that got created. Okay, I love this transition. I love now how these washes of which hard edges. So a wash here that has hard edge is really edges that create themselves. You can't do it, just you let it happen. But within that shape, I've got some beautiful soft transitions happening from this rose color to this more ochre orangish color, and all of that is happening. But I really need to hold off now and look at it, think about it, decide, do I want to do more? I'm just going to back away here. Do I want to do more with this? Let me lift this up so that this is on a better angle. And you can get a good view of it. Okay, so we have some fun light happening there. I like the abstractness about it. And yeah, so what I'm doing here is talking about my piece. I'm reflecting on it, and you need to do that as an artist, is reflect on your piece. Don't just criticize it, reflect it, respond, and come up with ideas about it. Something I'm noticing right here is this is too sudden of a transition. Okay, this is just too smooth for my liking. Okay, this needs to be broken up a little bit, I think. Okay. I like this highlight that happened. I think I might just stay away from that. I really think if I can just get more dark in here, this will blend in to my background, and I don't need to worry so much about the fact that this looks really like nothing that resembles a badger, although mind you, I've not seen badgers much. So I'd like to get some of this color, this fun color. I want to get some of that up happening in here if I can, but I'm going to refrain right now and wait till it's dry before I go back to that again. So, all right, now I'm starting to babble, and because this is a video, it's getting too long. So it is time to stop, time to say goodbye, and hope you guys found that helpful as you work on your own piece, and hope it's not so long-winded that you get bored. But the beauty of digital is you can always fast forward to other things and just focus on the stuff that matters to you, right? Someone said, eat the meat and spit out the bones. When I get off on some of my babbling, please, throw away whatever just is not jiving with who you are as an artist and where you are in your learning journey. So, okay. Yeah, really, when I say God bless, I really mean it. That God will bless you in your journey as you learn just why is he given this gift? Why is it on your heart right now to pursue art, to try and learn, to try and push and grow? There's something big happening there, and I really do encourage you to continue exploring that, praying into that. And that's my prayer, is that artists all around who are excited about the kingdom, about God's kingdom, who are excited about something bigger than just how can they make money by making pictures. I want to believe that there's something bigger out there, not just something bigger than capitalism. Yeah, a better kingdom. Okay. All right. Thanks again. And feel free to leave comments, or for those of you who are connected with me, to text me and show me your work, and I'll comment on it. Goodbye, all.